Welcome back to Up Front. I'm your host, Isabel.
And I'm your co-host, Alex. And today we are here with Dehnal.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
This is your first time on the podcast.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's going to be a special one whenever we have a host here, from our team. So yeah, go ahead. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a staff writer here for the front page. Been here since like October last semester, so I haven't been here for the longest time, but I've written tons of articles for the front page, and yeah, that's pretty much like a good overview, I guess.
Yeah.
Awesome. What are some recent articles that you've covered?
So I just did an article that was covering work study,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that's my most recent article. And before that, we had an Oscars week event
Mm-hmm.
where we covered some movies that were nominated for Oscars for this year's Academy Awards ceremony. And so I covered 4 movies for that week. And then we had a comeback article. I didn't write that one, Josh did, but that was an overview of that pretty much.
Oh,
Yeah.
An overview of the Oscars week?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you definitely had a few out there from that Oscars week, and I know your biggest one you just did was the work study. I know a lot of people have been questioning, what is work study, what's the benefits, all of that kind of stuff. So, I definitely want to, talk about that work study article because it seems like, it was a big one. And like I said, a lot of people here in the school, whether they're looking for a job or something, work study is something that pops up, and it might be blocking them, from getting a position or something like that. So, I have a few questions just in general. What is work study?
So work study is it's pretty much a way to earn some of your financial aid monies through student jobs on a college campus. So front range work study is working at one of the front range campuses on one of the various jobs they offer, like the library or the coffee den.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much what work study is in a nutshell.
Yeah. And I'm taking a look at the article, which, again, if you guys want to go ahead and take a look at this article with us, you can go to the front page, FRCC.com, where you can take a look at this So What is Work Study article. And, I mean, the big thing down here is I'm taking a look at the number of work study applicants. From 2018, it was 181. 2019 was 125. 2020 was 56, and then you did go back up from 2021 to 84 and 2022 to 71. So with this current number that we have, which is 71, do you see this number rising or falling back down?
It's kind of falling back down. It went down from 84 to 71, and yeah, that's but it had been declining from years previous anyway. So the 2021 rise from 2020's 56 to 84 now, and 2021 was kind of a surprise as far as that was concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So 71 applicants. What were the number of open jobs that we had on campus?
To be honest, I didn't get information on that. I just only asked for how many applicants had applied for work study jobs that semester.
I actually think that the number of applicants might increase because of this pay increase that took place in February, I think.
Yeah,
Exactly.
February, March. It took effect in March anyway.
Yeah.
That's where we got to see 16 an hour, which
because no wonder people weren't applying. I mean, if they were making $13 and they can go work at McDonald's and make whatever, like $18 or something.
I definitely remember when I first applied for my position here for the front page. Yeah, definitely when I looked at the how much I'd be making, 13, it was almost 14 an hour. I knew that I could definitely be making a lot more at other places, but it was the experience that I wanted to gain working here with the school and, applying for the photographer position, I
Mhm.
know that, photography is something I might want to do down the road. And I knew that, that's where I'm gaining the experience from that. And,
Yeah.
and I think that's a big thing people have to look out for. I mean, whether it's, your writing or something like that, it's a really big kind of push on your resume, so to say.
Right. So you were more like concerned with your career and getting
Exactly.
experience, but
Yeah.
some people,
Some people I know
obviously like need
need, yeah. So,
to go somewhere like that's going to be a lot more financially stable for them than
yeah.
And I'm sure that the pay wasn't that great. I mean, prices are rising pretty heavily
Mhm.
for
exactly.
certain goods, so 13.55 an hour just doesn't cut it. But now that it's 16 an hour, it's probably going to get some more applicants in there, hopefully.
Yeah, and also in your article you were talking about like some of your interviewees talked about the difficulties about actually being eligible and then being able to get work study positions. I remember at some point, which it sounds a little conflicting, but like I thought there was a waiting list.
Yeah, like
I thought you had to be on some sort of waiting list.
what's the requirements?
There's actually a lot of
Mhm.
requirements. You have to have had filled out the FAFSA form, which is a free application for federal student aid.
Mhm.
You had to applied for it and been eligible to receive financial aid from that form. Number one. Two, you have to be a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen.
Mhm.
Um, you have to be enrolled for at least 6 credits hours for the semester.
Mhm.
Um, and obviously, like have the regular stuff, high school diploma,
Yep.
meet the financial aid standards of the college, and you can't owe a student loan or owe repayment to any other college of any kind or just any other federal institution.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of
Yeah,
requirements.
it's a lot of requirements, and the HR paperwork on its own takes forever. Like
Yeah.
it took 3 weeks for me.
It took a while for mine too. It took a couple of weeks at least.
Yeah.
And I know some interviews I talked about in the article had some problems with that as well. That was like one of the downsides of one of the interviewees who works at the library said that it takes quite a while to get all your paperwork together.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not under work study, but my paperwork still took quite a while. It took at least a good 2 weeks, and then I realized that I hadn't even finished my paperwork, supposedly, even though I thought had finished my paperwork. So then it took an extra week. So it was definitely a lot, but I don't know. I'd say it's worth it in the end, obviously.
Yeah. If it's the right situation for you, it definitely can be
Yeah.
worth it.
Mm.
I mean, there's lots of benefits too. You don't want to have to hassle getting to another job. That's like it's like it takes a little while to get there.
Yeah,
You can
like
just work on the
commuting.
campus and
Right.
walk
Yeah.
from your job to a class like pretty much whenever you need to.
Exactly. And the hours are flexible. I feel like most managers or supervisors understand that you need flexibility and that
Hmm.
class time comes before anything.
Yeah,
So,
I think
yeah.
that's a big part about it is like they obviously know that school is the important thing. So, keeping on top of your work and everything like that. And, I think that's really nice how, like you're saying, it's convenient to work around your schedule.
And also if you work somewhere like the library or um like some sort of administrative job, you can study
Hmm.
during the downtime.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
that's really cool actually.
I've
I,
seen I've seen. I go to the coffee den a lot because the SOC is like just right over
Right.
at the coffee den, like right by it, and I see the worker I interviewed for this article study all the time. They always sit the student lounge where the you can just eat, do whatever, drink your coffee. And they utilize that seating area to study as well. So
mhm.
it's super, and that's right by the coffee den too.
Yeah, I think, well, I'm reading right here from your article. Maggie actually has said that, I get to finish pretty much all of my homework while I'm working.
Yeah.
I see that a lot. Like, I'm walking around and I see people that, work with the wolf life here and everything else. They get to, do their work or other stuff like that, even while they're
Right.
on the job, which,
Yeah, because their job is not as demanding as like normal.
yeah.
Of like a boss that's like watching over you and like,
Yeah.
hey. Yeah, I mean, work study is pretty cool. Another thing too that kind of surprised me was like you cannot go over 20 hours a week. And if you do, you get flagged.
Yeah, and they pretty much like just kind of take it out of your pay, and at
Yeah.
some point they'll take it out of your pay and uh put it back into like the budget for that department that you're working for. So like if I don't know, let's say Alex worked 20 hours a week and he went over that a bunch of times, then the budget would have to flow back into student life, which
Yeah.
manages the front page.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also the biggest conflict with like the $13 wage that was implemented before was that they gave you like a certain amount, and that was, all of the money. Let's say they gave you like $5,000 for that semester for work study, but you're only making $13 an hour, and you can only work 20 hours a week. And there's only what, like 14 or 16 weeks in a semester.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to get that max
Yeah.
amount of the 5,000?
Yeah.
So now with the $16, that it makes it a lot easier to for people to reach that.
And it makes the work study award more. Makes
Yeah.
the work study award more worth it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So another thing that happened, moving on kind of from the work study, is spring break. Spring break was awesome.
Spring break was not awesome for me.
Why?
I got sick over spring break.
What happened?
Honestly, I don't know. I think it was the beginning of spring break on that Monday. I just was feeling really tired. I didn't have a headache. I was able to still eat food properly. My belly wasn't feeling sick or anything. It was just I was tired and my throat was kind of irritating me. So something was going around, but luckily it's all over with now.
Yeah.
So.
And my spring break was kind of so. It was awesome in some parts and not so awesome in others.
What'd you do?
So it was my birthday over spring break.
Oh,
so,
right.
Yeah.
Oh,
happy belated birthday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yay.
So we just did a bunch of shopping that day. It was pretty much a shop till you drop kind of thing, and I definitely dropped. I was super exhausted afterward.
Wow.
Then saw a movie afterward, and we saw the new John Wick movie. It was pretty good. And then like 2 days after that, that was like Sunday, first Sunday of break. On that Tuesday during break, I had to take up my washing machine up from my basement with my dad, and because it stopped spinning, it wouldn't spin our clothes, so we had to squeeze out all the water in our clothes before we had to throw it in the dryer. So we had to get a new set.
Yikes!
And while we were moving it up to get the new set down there, or in kind of preparation for it, 'cause it was coming the next day, I took it up a step too far. It tumbled down the stairs and it sliced my hand open.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Wow.
It's actually still healing a little bit from it, but it's doing a lot better now.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a pretty big injury.
Did you guys get one of those special dollies, like the appliance dollies? That
we
you just like
we
lay on
tried
the
using a
stairs?
dolly, but we had to carry it up the stairs still.
Wow.
Yeah, there's these special dollies that you like put your whatever, your washer machine or stove or whatever you just bought. And if you're trying to like move it upstairs, it lays on its back and it has these long wheels and you can just push it all the way up.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Maybe we gotta get one of those so that way.
Yeah.
So Oscars week. Which movies did you cover? You said you covered 3.
Covered
Pinocchio.
4.
Oh, so you did all 4: Pinocchio, Turning Red,
The Banshees of Inisherin, and then Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. And then the last article for Oscars week was written by Josh, but that was a comeback article and not necessarily a movie review.
Yeah, that was talking about kind of like inequities in the media, right? Where
Kind of, yeah, and how they like it was more of
they tend to ostracize like uh
not
older.
necessarily. It was just more that the Oscars, like there was a bunch of actors nominated for Oscars this year,
Mm.
and what is it? It's like they pretty much made their big comebacks this year. They were nominated for Oscars, or
Mhm.
won an Oscar, and they were nominated for um like their respective movies. Like Brandon Fraser, who won
Brendan
Best
Fraser.
Actor for The
Yeah.
Whale. He had been through some like had been sexually abused,
Hmm.
so he was out of Hollywood for a while, and then he made just recently appeared in The Whale, and he won an Oscar for that. So that was a comeback.
I mean, yeah, it says, he struggled with the aftermath of sexual assault, this bringing more shame and an embarrassment due to his leading man status. It took the Me Too movement to shake him out of his depression and start the journey back into the light, of his future. And he took part that would land him in the spotlight, which was The Whale.
Yeah,
That I didn't really get to see that movie yet, which I want to see, but I heard a lot of great things about the role he played in that movie, and how he really played it down to the core. So
yeah. I heard a lot of the same thing, but I also haven't seen The Whale yet. It's not. I haven't seen it on any streaming services or anything.
mhm. And then I mean, yeah, if you guys are looking for something to maybe watch this weekend, Pinocchio, Turning Red, Puss in Boots.
Yeah,
That was a you said that was a
I've
pretty.
raved about that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Uh,
haven't watched it.
It's on Peacock right now,
mhm.
so that's a good way to watch it. Pretty much
So
all
you
these are
definitely
on
recommend. I'm more interested on the Banshees of
Inisherin.
Inisherin. What is that
So it's
about?
like a pretty much the premise is there's these two Irish men,
Hmm.
and they live in a rural Irish town or village, whatever. And one of them pretty much just ups and decides to not be friends with the other one anymore. And, it's like a comedy drama thing. Um, it's a pretty interesting movie, I think. But
So is there any? So it's a comedy drama. That's.
yeah,
Mm,
exactly.
Mm.
it looks a lot more emotional.
Yeah, it does definitely get emotional at some parts, but it's the first like half of it at the very least is pretty filled with comedy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the Turning Red one is that's a Disney Plus one, right?
Mm-hmm. Banshees of Inisherin is also on Hulu, at least when I watched it for the Oscars. Or actually,
Mhm.
it's on HBO Max.
HBO Max. Okay, that's
Um,
that's the one I do have. I don't have Disney Plus. I think Disney Plus is not much of like a waste of money, but I already have enough like subscriptions as it is where I
I
yeah.
I
don't have
don't really.
anything, Seth, maxed out my credit card.
um, HBO
Wow,
Max is my preferred
Seth.
service. Honestly, they have a lot of
Wow.
diverse stuff on there.
HBO.
Yeah. Like they obviously have like the Banshees. They have like lots of critically acclaimed movies. They have like DC's superhero movies. They have like Studio Ghibli on there. They have lots of stuff on there. But
So like I didn't know that this was a thing until recently, and I think like I want to share it with everybody. If you go to YouTube and you type in free movies, you will get like a bunch of free movies, and they have A Bride and a Corpse.
you also get a ton of viruses. So that is
No, they're
definitely
like
something.
legit.
Legit. I think it's legit from YouTube.
Oh, they're actual.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you type in free movies, it will take you to an actual tab that says movies and TV,
Oh,
and they
that so then
have
it's official
primetime
then. Yeah.
movies that are for
I've seen
free.
those before then. Sometimes they do free movies, but you have to watch ads. I've
So I
seen those
watched
before.
Tim Burton's Corpse Bride.
That's actually I have a good story for this free movie kind of type thing. Um, Back in middle school, when I started middle school, it was sixth grade. Um, I forget. I think it was one of my friends that was in my class. The teacher after class was like, we had 5 minutes left before class was gonna end,
Mm-hmm.
And so we were just messing around at our desk doing whatever we wanted to. And my friend says, "Hey, come over here. I want to show you something." And I go to his computer, and he was on the internet, and he was on this website called freemovies123.com. And at first I
That
was
already
like,
sounds
well,
sketch.
yeah, I was like, well, what's this all about? And he said, you can literally watch any movie that just came out for free. And so I think it was 7th grade, or it might have been 8th grade, around those times was when the new Superman versus Batman movie came out.
Oh yeah.
And everybody was raving about it, and everyone wanted to watch it. And you know how kids were watching it? Through movies123, freemovies123.com. So I went home that day, and I decided to check out the website,
Mm-hmm.
which, I wasn't using like a VPN or anything special, honestly. I probably should have been, because I know they were probably like tracking my location and everything. But yeah, I went on the website to watch the Batman versus Superman movie, and I laughed so hard because the way they got it for free was a guy went to the movie theaters, pulled out his phone, and recorded the whole movie on his iPhone. So it was like angled weirdly, and the sound was so off.
It
and
wasn't
it's
like a
coming-
direct stream of
It
the movie,
wasn't
just
a-
some guy.
Yes, some guy
holding
recording,
it.
holding his phone and recording it. And I laughed so hard, but I was like, fair play if this is how people are watching it. But yeah, it was funny. So the next day I went to class, and everyone was talking about it. And this one girl comes up to me, and she says, "What is everyone talking about?" And I was like, "Oh, you go to this website, and it's freemovies123.com." And I was like, "Write it down on Sharpie on your hand. Watch free movies." She comes back to me the next day, and she's like, "Dude, like, thank you so much. I watched so many free movies." And I was just laughing so hard, and I realized I was like, this is so stupid. So free movies for sure.
Dude, I don't think you could even get away with that now.
No, you can't.
Yeah, they shut down all kinds of these websites all the time, and they have
They
all
do.
kinds
I
of
think
sketchy websites.
Now these days, it's like they try to get down on every website that's up, and they try to, cut it off. So
Well, actually, one movie that's on that free movies thing on YouTube that I like highly recommend. It's called Waves.
waves.
Oh, I've heard of Waves.
Hmm.
It's really, really good. Really good. And I think it's like a... What are those movies called where they're independent? Like,
Indie movies.
yeah. Something
Yeah,
like that, right?
That's a good way to describe them.
If they're just independent producers, like just people that come together and make this movie.
Yeah, there's
So it's
no
like
major
very-
studio backing or
Yeah.
anything like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
But
an
it's
indie
really,
movie.
it's really, really good.
Yeah.
So
Definitely some good movies to take a look at through Oscars week and stuff like that.
They're all on streaming services. So Pinocchio is a Netflix original.
Yeah, the
Turning
Pinocchio
Red's on
Netflix.
Disney Plus. Banshees is on HBO, and now Puss in Boots is on Peacock. When I reviewed Puss in Boots, it wasn't quite on Peacock yet, but
Yeah, I remember
it is
that.
now.
It is now. So
what did you think about Pinocchio? Because I've heard some like mixed reviews.
Mixed
It was
Reviews.
okay. It was okay. It's good, but I feel like it was like really lacking in the story department. It just was very muddled. It kind of jumped all over the place. It didn't pick one specific thing to really stick with. It just kind of throws it all at you, and it's like it's both lighthearted, like a kids movie, but it's also like dark, like you would expect from like an adult animated movie or something. And
Wow.
it doesn't mesh them together
Yeah, it
very
doesn't
well.
mix them together really well.
It's very makes for kind of an awkward watch. I kind of talked about that in that review. Probably. I
Yeah.
hope I did.
Do you think like an average child would be like scared watching this movie?
Probably. To some
Honestly,
extent,
yeah,
probably.
I think so. Yeah, I think now these days the kids, they watch that-
What's the name of that one cartoon dude? Huggy Wuggy. Have
was
you guys
gonna
heard
say-
of this thing?
I think so.
I was
It's
gonna say
so scary.
the kids these days like to go on Netflix and watch the Coco Melon.
Oh.
I know that's
Yeah.
what kids these days like, and so
Well,
yeah.
they just have an iPad in front of their face for 6 hours a day.
seriously, and all you
Dude,
hear
I'm
is
gonna show
Coco
you-
Melon.
I'm gonna show you a picture of this Huggy Wuggy thing so you can see what I'm talking about.
Is it a kid's cartoon? It doesn't seem like
It like look, it's this. And like they actually watch it. Like they think it's cool. And he's supposed to chase you and he's gonna kill you.
That's like Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yes, dude. It's scary. And like they make it for kids. Like my nephew is 5 years old and that's his That's his like.
What are we doing?
So I'm looking at it
I'm
now. It's from a game called Poppy Playtime. Came out on PC like when
It's
was it?
scary, dude.
Like last year or the year before, and it's not a kid's game, but
If your kid is
it's
playing
about
this game,
boys specifically, so that's probably
Yeah, so like we had to block it on my nephew's tablet because he kept looking it up and it kept coming up.
oh my god,
But like he loves that thing, and like they made a girl version of it too. So
yeah.
my niece just turned 2, and now she asks for like the dolls, like
Yeah.
the pink dolls.
for that.
just like honestly, like I think I see this a lot of times, but you know, the parents, they don't monitor what their kids really doing on the iPad and like stuff like that, bro. Come on.
You remember those weird Spider-Man videos they used to do, like those weird Spider-Man Elsa videos they used to do?
Which one?
I don't know. They just like did some like they dressed up a bunch of people in like Spider-Man and Elsa costumes. We're making like family-friendly content, but then a lot of it would be like really sexualized. It was really awkward.
What?
This was like 2018, 17, something pretty
No
decently long time
way.
ago. But yeah, they would make this stuff specifically for kids and then pull that kind of shit. So that was definitely a problem.
You know what? I think the only other thing I was going to talk about was I saw this one, you know, because on the App Store they have like you can write reviews about something, and I remember seeing this one where it was this mom wrote a review about the Subway Surfers game and how it supposedly like just like messed up the kid almost to the point where like whenever he saw a cop or something, he thought, oh, it's a good idea to run away and, you know, collect the coins.
What?
Seriously,
Wow.
like playing out in the streets or something,
He
like
thought it was a
acting
good
like
idea.
it's just some of these things, like these games, like Five Nights at Freddy's as well. I'm telling you, kids really think that's like a cool game, and then like they get into all the plushies and stuff like that, and sometimes like some kids get really scared to the point where like they
They
can't
get
even
traumatized.
yeah, they get traumatized. They can't sleep. PTSD, dude.
Yeah, look at this. Huggy
Yeah.
Wuggy sounds like a cuddly teddy bear, but the monster is actually an evil villain in the 2021
That's
horror
like
PC
the, you
game
know, that's the
Poppy
kids.
Playtime by MOB Games. The blue stuffed bear
Oh, no,
is no Care Bear.
Oh, that just sounds cheesy.
The blue
They just-
stuffed
I
bear
feel
is
like-
no
yeah.
Care Bear. Oh,
All
that
right,
sounds
well-
like me. Anyway.
Yeah, obviously that's all about Oscars week. That's about what you're gonna get for the work study. Once again, if you want to know more about the work study, make sure to check out that article. We have a couple events, I believe, that are coming up here. If you guys want to go to some of these events, if I can bring them up here.
I know that we have
We have a stress ball event. That's one I'm really curious about on April 19th. We have a stress ball event at the SOC table, regular times from 11:30 to 1 p.m. So I'm curious to see what that is. Oh, we also have a final pool tournament April 25th, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. That's going to be interesting. Maybe that's a good thing to do a TikTok on.
yeah,
I
probably.
think that might be a pretty good TikTok for that. So
There's also a National Pretzel Day on the 26th. But they'll probably we'll probably cover in the next episode anyway. But it's nice to just bring it up here just in case.
Yeah, I was
we-
about to say I saw that there was a poster for that in the hallway, and I was like, National Pretzel Day. So that's pretty cool that they're gonna do that for that day.
Yeah,
think. And then obviously semester is going to be ending pretty quick, so make sure you're on top of all your work. Definitely don't want to slip now. That would probably be the worst time to do so. So
I know it's nice outside, but let's not falter here. We only have like 4 weeks, something like that.
yeah, only 4 weeks. It's gonna fly by fast. So obviously, if you need help, make sure to contact your instructors for help. And you also have the math department and the writing department and all that kind of good stuff available for you. So yeah, there you go.
Awesome. Make sure to check us out on TikTok and Instagram at front page FRCC.
And take a look out for Isabel's editorial about the impact of bias in academia, and the upcoming article that goes all the way into Upfront, which is FRCC's favorite podcast. Coincidentally, only podcast.
Yeah, and the poetry.
The poetry
Actually,
contest.
yeah, we forgot to mention we're hosting a poetry contest. We've put together prizes for the winners. This is going to be held. When is this thing happening?
So the deadline is I'm looking at the Poetry Month contest on the Front Page's website right now. So the deadline is April 20th at 11:59. Up to 3 poems per submission. Someone can put up to 3 poems per submission. But the person who wants to submit poems can only do 1 submission. So if you do only 1 poem, you're kind of stuck with just your 1 entry. But all genres of poetry are welcome. The people at the Front Page will officially judge them, and the winners, our favorite poems from the selection, will be published on our website. And the authors of the very best will be invited to appear on Upfront to recite their poem. So definitely be doing that. It would be a very exhilarating experience to be on Upfront. For me, it is very exhilarating to be up here on Upfront today.
Yeah,
So
thanks for
imagine.
Yeah, thanks for
coming.
coming on. We're so happy that you made it, and that we made this thing happen. We've been wanting to kind of create episodes around the entire Front Page cast.
Front Page, yeah.
Front Page staff. Yeah.
Episode 5. We've got another guest hopefully coming on, so be on the lookout for that because that's going to be a good one as well. So
awesome, sounds good.
All
Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Peace.
Stay up front.
Yep.
Oh my
We're
god.
not howling. I tell you that.